So, hello everyone who is watching our YouTube live stream or the recording of this week's growth call. I'm Christoph Atteneder and I'm your host today. As you know, I already posted the Google Hangout invitation link in the chat. So you can just click on it and join us here in the Hangout. Or you can just watch the live stream and feel free to post your comments and questions in the live chat. If we're not answering them right away, after the call, we'll have an open Q&A session, and we try to go through as many questions as possible. So post as you might want. So our growth calls, like the one today, are about everything that helps to grow the Bisq network. If you don't know it by now, Bisq is the only true decentralized exchange to exchange fiat with cryptocurrencies or crypto with other cryptocurrencies. If you're interested in more details, please have a look at the introductional video on Bisq, which I'll link in the description below after the call. So today, as you might know already, is all about the Kickstart Market Day, which is still ongoing. So it's already evening here in Europe, but in the US, it's just the day just started, and we are really on a good run there. But I will get into this in more detail later. Just that you know, we try to put as many offers on Bisq as possible at the same time. So if you want to trade on Bisq for the first time, there is no better time to do it. So there's lots of stuff available. I want to end live demos today, as they might not work like the live pairing I tried, where I had issues because of the lightning situation here. But I want to give you a quick update on the Bisq network and also on the ongoing development and our release plans. So let's get right into it. The current volume this month looks really, really good. So we just hit 1 million today in total trading, US dollar trading volume. And let's see if today's market activity might give us an extra push, so we will have an extraordinary month again. Paul just posted, yeah, we have 240 offers currently. Yeah, I think before the our trading activity day, we had 190, 195 offers at the same time, and we are far beyond that. So for the next release, Manfred mentioned it last week, around mid of October, we want to do the 0.9 release. A couple of really exciting features and functionalities. So we'll introduce Java 10 support. Why do you care? It should fix a couple of rendering issues, especially for Linux and Windows on high definition displays. It will fix a couple of font issues on specific languages like Thai and also Persian. So with the next release, we will also release a couple of new languages translations on Bisq, and there are lots of bug fixes. So we released Bisq based on the Java 8 SDK so far, and the support for Java 8 is running out slowly. So that was also necessary that we jump to Java 10 to have continuous support, security updates, and so on. The next big point or feature which makes it into the 0.9 release is the redesign. Pedro made a great proposal for the website, for the client, and we started implementing it already. It's quite far, but I guess it will still need 2 to 4 weeks to get everything done. But if you're interested, I try to release, as I'm working on the redesign, I try to release every 2 weeks a new version of the current branch. So tomorrow I will release a new version, so you can install it besides your regular Bisq client and just see how Bisq will look in the near future. And also it would be interesting if you're running on Linux or Windows machines to get some feedback if these rendering issues really were fixed for you as well. There are two big things that are also on the roadmap for 0.9. That's Bisq API support and the DAO on testnet. But maybe Manfred, can you tell us more on the current situation on these two development efforts?
Yeah, so for the APIs, there are two developers mainly working on this, Bernard and Mike, and it's getting very close for a first release that with a minimal set of API features, mainly for creating offers and for taking offers and executing a trade. So for people, for market makers who want to execute a trade with some scripts or with some trading bots, they will have the tools then. The APIs will come with a lot of more features, but those features will require more reviews and testing before we can release them officially. And regarding the DAO, yeah, the plan is that we are getting a testnet version out in mid of October. Hopefully we can stick with this date, and then people can play around with the DAO features, with the voting, and learn more about how it works. We also want to continue to make some video sessions for explaining more all the context and all the subtleties and what the DAO is about and how it works technically and what makes it special and why we are not using Bisq or why we are not using another altcoin or whatever.
Yeah, sounds really exciting. I'm looking forward. I'm playing with the DAO code just from the user perspective now on the redesign every now and then, and yeah, looking forward trying it out on testnet. Felix just joined us, which is great. As the next point I wanted to talk about is the September market Kickstart Day. Felix, maybe do you want to take this over? How's it going so far?
It's been going great. Surpassing all expectations. I was actually expecting less volume, fewer trades, but more offers. But it looks like we had almost as many takers as we had people offering. It seems to me that the casual user would rather take a trade that's being offered in the order book, than create their own one. So we were aiming for 300 offers, and I think the maximum I've seen all day was 244 at some point, which is still a lot higher than what we normally have. So very nice. And as usual, the highest volume traded pair has been Monero to Bitcoin, with I'm seeing right now almost $240,000 worth. And after that, euro, dollars, pounds, Canadian dollars, and Swiss francs all did well. Euros and dollars did a few thousand, and the rest did a few hundred. But it's nice. I was a bit disappointed that we saw very little from new countries. I tried to reach out to quite a few people in India. I tried to reach out to a couple of people in Argentina to see if they would to take the chance to try it today. And I did see some offers in Argentinian pesos, in Chilean pesos, in Thai bahts, in Vietnamese dong, and so on, but nothing in Indian rupees. But no, it seems like this was just people who already knew Bisq and doing their effort to show that there's interest and that this can become a much higher volume exchange than it is right now.
Yeah, I can back this what you said on that casual traders rather just take offers than put offers out there. I also had issues just putting out offers again, and they were ticking down and getting out. So it's really hard to keep the number. Well, also for me personally, I tried for the first a couple of Revolut direct trades as well, and that worked really fast. So I think it took me from the first, after I got the first blockchain confirmation, maybe 5 minutes to go through the complete trade.
Did you use your phone number or your email address?
Yeah, that's I posted my email address, and the first one trader did. I got an email address, and then in the client it looked like this email address wasn't available on Revolut, so I wasn't sure. So I contacted this guy via email. Luckily, I found his PGP key, and on another trade, I got a phone number which worked perfectly fine. So I guess I will also switch to phone number.
I mean, it's less privacy conscious, but Revolut is made so that if you add an email, you first have to locate. It doesn't work automatically. With phone number, it works automatically. Again,
That's a good learning. Yeah,
it's good to have a choice of payment methods. Some are more privacy conscious, others less. Yeah, there's.
Yeah. Before the call started, we were talking about maybe having this kind of activity not once every couple of months, but maybe every week, every 2 weeks. What's your take on that?
My take on that is that you lose some of the focus if you do it more frequently. But I don't know. It depends. I mean, ideally, market participants would talk to each other and on the forums or wherever and say, "Hey guys, I'm from Brazil. I'm fed up with placing offer and see no one take it, and leaving my Bisq client running all the time. From now on, I'm gonna do it on Mondays. Brazil Mondays." But I don't know. We've tried many experiments. This was just another experiment. I mean, the liquidity weeks worked quite well for a while, and then for some other currencies worked less well. I don't know. I mean, I saw at some point 46 offers live for euros, which is amazing, and also 20 plus for Monero, 20 plus for US dollars. It's always the same problem: coordination and also critical mass, right? So you need to have. I honestly still don't know how to kickstart a new country. You probably have to go face to face and talk to two guys from India and say, "Hey, you two guys on the same day at the same time." I don't know how to do it. It worked really well for euros. It worked really well for dollars. It worked really well for Monero. I don't know if this would work very well for other less popular things.
Yeah, I really liked what you brought up with this coincidence of buyers and sellers, that they need to meet at the same time, at the same place, and that this is not, that's a classical problem for markets. And as long as you don't have a lot of users or so, you are basically confronted with this problem, and that this liquidity kickstart, they will try to solve this. And it reminds me a little bit on the Satoshi Square events in the very first early days of Bitcoin, which was basically the inspiration for BitSquare, the earlier name of Bisq. And maybe we could combine it a little bit like, there's one day a week where it's kind of like Bisq Day, or like our Bisq Square Day or whatever, or refer something like to this Satoshi Square, that it's basically a marketplace when people have to come together and to increase this this chances to find a counterparty to trade with. But of course, when we're doing it too often, also it consumes energy and time from us. It's hard. It's not easy to find the right balance, probably. But I really liked, and for me, I mean, it was obvious somehow, this concept, this coincidence of buyers and sellers, to bring them together. But I was not really so conscious about this. I think to use this a little bit more and explain this people more, that it gets more into the brain directly, could help also that people are aware that it's not the default state, that when you want to get into an interaction with somebody else to trade, that there are the big exchanges there where you just can do it and everything is there. I mean, that's a rather new phenomenon. They're very old, and the 1,000 years old phenomenon was markets.
One of the things we've seen from the report this week from the New York, I think it was I don't know who it was, but there was this big report on all the US exchanges. And one of the things that came out of it was that many of them were trading on their own exchanges with their own funds. That's obviously not recommended. It's very close to market manipulation, etc. But it does tell you that what's the evolution of the market or fair? It's the shops, right? The shop that's always there. It has higher costs because it's always got to be there. But what I'm trying to say is that just the same as in local Bitcoins, probably a large part of the volume has a professional as a counterparty. The same thing could happen on Bisq if we could attract more professional traders, because there are some people who'll be moving about, can't leave their real computer on all the time, but there will be some people who they're at a shop, the computer's on all day, they can have it running in the background and combine it with some other activity. I don't know what the right combination is. Also, when a market's mature enough on Bisq, spreads go to zero, which is something we have better than anybody else. But professionals are not going to be attracted to that, right? So maybe professionals for Brazil and Argentina, where they can set, 5% spread, but in exchange for that, they'll stay there all the time and they'll be available for other people to take their offers. And maybe in more popular markets like dollars and euros, it's going to be more peer-to-peer. I don't know, but it's something to think about.
Yeah, and I think we should promote this a little bit more, that we have actually pretty good spreads usually, and often negative spreads. As when you look at other similar exchanges like local Bitcoin, they have often really terrible prices. At the moment, we have with Canada a strange situation that the difference between local Bitcoin and other exchanges is something like 500 Canadian dollar, which is quite a lot. That's 5% or something like this. And what do I want to say else? Yeah, regarding the shops and so on, what you mentioned earlier, I think hopefully the APIs will help a lot, that those are professional traders, market makers, they have more tools to make it more easy for them and comfortable for them to keep their offer online and to trade automatically. And
those bots, hey, I love the bots. There's some people who are scared of bots in trading, but unless it's a very mature market, like the New York bats or whatever, normally the bots add liquidity and improve things until it gets to a certain level where it's just front running or high frequency trading or whatever. But normally it's a positive development. So I'm very looking forward to the API.
Yeah, and it's when you refer to this announcement from the general attorney in New York. So, I mean, a lot of these questions what they had, and so when you would apply them to our project, to a decentralized exchange, they're just irrelevant and they just don't fit. They're really, also most of those problems why the regulation is in place are really only related and only caused by the problems from a centralized exchange where you have to trust them. They can do a lot of fraud, they can do a lot of damage, and they can betray their clients, and they're doing it. Of course, we hear all the time such scandals. And also, yeah, there was something with trading bots, and so at the end, I think it shouldn't be relevant. I mean, you are. Yeah.
I mean, the first thing they do is inflate volume, right? I've always had this discussion trying to what percentage of volume reported on CoinMarketCap, for example, is true, and how much is wash trading between, exchanges trading with themselves to inflate their volume. Thankfully, that cannot happen on Bisq because it's too expensive, right? There's no zero fees trading. There's always the security deposit. So there's a capital cost to trying to manipulate the market, and we can see that almost all the trades here are from people who just want to buy and sell. And
yeah, there are a couple of questions in the chat already. Just going through the first ones from Aruna. He's asking if we could do country-specific events to encourage participants from those countries and have higher Bisq bounty for those countries. So actually, we did these liquidity weeks already in different countries like Canada, Switzerland, US, but we saw that the more we went to markets which doesn't have a huge already lots of traders on Bisq, it was really hard to push this liquidity. So there are Bisq bounties. So everyone who wants to run this kind of liquidity weeks in their own market, you can just approach us. We can give try to communicate it to everyone, and you can run it on your own with our support. So that's
yeah, absolutely. If someone, I'm definitely willing to try again. And if someone from Brazil, from Nigeria, from India, from Egypt, from China wants to run an event and knows at least a couple of traders who would be willing to participate, that's more than we started with in many places. So that would be a great start. We'll definitely add bounties and help. Mexico, yeah, definitely. Mexico would be. I tried that in the past as well, right? I got a couple of friends from Mexico to keep offers for a whole month. It's tough, but I'm definitely willing to try again.
Yeah.
Actually, we have a friend here from Mexico. Hi, Gustavo. a good friend from my own, and he helped to promote Bisq in Mexico and I think in other places as well. And yeah, maybe you can give a little bit of information. How is the situation in Mexico in general with Bitcoin and with Bisq? Gustav, I think you're muted. Or...
Let me see. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's quite not very clear.
Okay, yeah, I don't know how's my internet connection right now.
It's okay. So you're understandable at least, yeah.
All right, okay. I'll try to be brief. Yeah, here in Mexico, it's been a little bit more complicated than I expected. I've been talking in a couple of meetups about this, and people have hardly heard about it. And also another problem that I'm seeing is that a lot of people are trying to start their own exchanges. So when I go to these meetups and talk about Bisq, maybe they don't say it out loud, but they are thinking, yeah, right. I have my own project, I have my own exchange, so I don't have incentives to try to use different exchange. That's what I'm feeling right now. Actually, tonight, here is 1 o'clock in the afternoon right now. Tonight, like in 5 hours, I'm going to a meetup where a couple of guys are working on their own exchanges. So in that same meetup, I've talked about Bisq in the past. I'm going to do it today again. I'm going to put a couple of offers beforehand, and yeah, I'm trying to spread the word, but I've been facing this problem.
It's tough. It's tough to start it, but once it's there, once there's something to do when you go online, it will grow. It will slowly at first, but it grows organically. But the first step from 0 to 1, that is so hard. From 0 to 2, because you need 2 to trade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, regarding this kind of marketing, there's a question by Paul. If we intend to do standard advertising, or if we will continue to go for a word of mouth strategy for now.
Yeah, maybe I jump in here. No, we don't want to be we don't want to do anything which is like a normal company, and doing normal marketing also is one of those parts what we don't want to end up. And if any users who have the feeling that we are moving in this direction, because of course it's a blurry line, it's not always 100% clear. We have to do some promotion and communication that people hear about Bisq. But we really want to stay away from normal marketing and selling something to people. We want to inform people, provide support to people, and help people that they're using it, and transport our values and why we are building and why we're working on this to people. And those who are sharing these values are invited and welcome, and others who don't care, probably they will not join anyway, and we would not get them anyway with kind of like advertising or whatever, because yeah, it's not, Bisq is not ready for mainstream, and who knows if it will ever be ready for the really average Joe who don't care about all this what we're doing and only want convenience and want to get whatever on a quick bucks with the easy trade. They're probably better suited at Coinbase and such stuff, and we are not competing with Coinbase.
Yeah, but still, Bisq with 1,000 offers live would be a very, very different proposition for the user. I mean, for the regular user, going to Bisq. It happened with local Bitcoins, right? Local Bitcoins years ago had very little activity, but you know, it was always there, and in some countries it was the only option. Bisq, honestly, if we could get a few offers live in China, that would just to blow my mind. But yeah.
Yeah, there's one suggestion by Doug. If we could temporarily waiving the order creation fee to help growth, like HODL is doing it.
It's not so easy in a decentralized system like this, because your trade fee is verified by the other peer. So when he has an old version, we only can change such stuff at the moment, at least with an update, but there's no guarantee that the other user, the other trader has updated as well. And besides this, we don't want to go everything is free as a free in a to buy a beer, because that's not the value what we want to promote. I mean, people are working on this and they should get compensated. Why I should work free for somebody else who make some money by trading on Bisq? That's not
the fees are tiny anyway. The fees are tiny. We're talking about 0.2%.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's much more expensive to pay a large spread because there isn't enough liquidity, where you might be paying 3, 4, 5%, than the trading fee, which in Bisq is symbolic almost. It's bigger.
Exactly.
I mean, the security deposit is bigger, a lot bigger than the fee. But again, that's a security measure, and you get it back. So.
Yeah, and it's also it's attracting the wrong people, I think, when we try to promote Bisq on the fee side, because I mean that's the least, and we have seen this in our survey when we asked what's important for the users, and it was mainly really privacy, the same values what we are promoting, and like something like low fees was not much. Christoph can say more about this.
Yeah, and we said, yeah, sorry.
Christoph, your audio, I think, was broken,
okay.
at least on my side.
Okay, yeah. I just want to back. Yeah, I think it was about 10 to 15% who said that low fees are one of the big reasons why they trade on Bisq. But yeah, I think security and privacy was 40% something. So it's
and one user, I mean, with a good offer which is close to 0% spread or close to the market price, the fees are really super low, or they're nearly nothing, less like $1, I think. And with volatility in the especially on altcoin side, I mean, the volatility goes up 5 or 10% easily a day in some altcoins, and when people are complaining about the fees, they have never done the math behind.
Yeah.
One thing which can be improved a lot. One thing
it would be cool to not have to leave the app open all the time. Yeah, also we do have the notification app, so you can leave the app open all the time at home and just be outside in the nature with your mobile phone, and you can probably in the future with the API do more and more from your mobile phone. But at the moment, I think it will be necessary that you host your own instance of the Bisq client. But Manfred?
Yeah, it's important to say it's only for the offer maker. It's only when you create an offer, your app need to be running, because you are actually the server. We don't have any servers. It's a peer-to-peer network. So you are the server for your offers. When you are not online, nobody can take your offer. But when you're the taker, yeah, you don't need to be online. And during the trade process as well, you only have to be online from time to time to see the state of the trade, that you confirm the payment or the receipt of the payment, but you don't need to be online. Maybe we need to communicate this a little bit better, because I have seen this several times that people think that also for the trade you need to be online all the time. And also when you have the offer as the maker, of course you don't need to be physical online, only your machine, your application need to be running in the background.
So to make it clear, if you're a taker, you can turn on your Bisq client, click on an offer, and the moment you've accepted the offer, you can turn off your Bisq client and come back later, correct?
Yeah, correct. And then you only depend on the payment method. When it's an altcoin, which is super fast usually, or one of the fast payment methods, you should check maybe an hour later if the other peer has already paid when you're the buyer. Or otherwise, when you're the seller, you wait for one confirmation, then you make the payment, and then when the other peer has confirmed it, you get the Bitcoin already out. At the end,
sorry, go on.
When you're the buyer, actually, it doesn't really matter when you go online again. As soon as you have paid for the seller, it's already fine, because you are sending already the pre-signed transaction to the seller, and when the seller confirms that he has received the payment, the payout is already done. Even if you go online 5 days later, it doesn't really matter.
And on that topic, one of the things that could really improve usability is speed. 5-6 days, which is the maximum trade time for SEPA trades, it's a long time. I mean, Chris, you've tried Revolut. What's the difference, or anyone who's tried faster payments in the UK, the difference between, I know this trade will be completed today, to maybe I have to wait till Monday for the wire transfer to come in. And it should be possible with SEPA instant payments. I know not all banks in Europe are doing them, but it should be possible to bring down the time to complete the trade.
Maybe we should promote a little bit more SafePay Instant. I'm not sure how many banks. From my banks, I don't know if they're supporting it. I at least never got any information about this. And we have very few trades with SafePay Instant, I think 5 or 10 trades. So it seems that people are not using it and would be a great improvement. But also with SafePay in some countries, like in Spain, it's often happening the same day or sometimes nearly instant. With other countries, like in Austria, it usually takes 2 or 3 days. I don't know why the banks are sleeping there. They're making some money with your interest rates, basically.
How fast is Seller in the US?
Sorry?
How fast is Seller? Yeah.
I think it's close to instant. At least I think that as far as I remember, it's it has to be settled in 1 day, I think. But I'm not 100% sure. Andres, do you know maybe?
In the US?
Cell, how long does it take for a cell transfer?
I think it depends on the. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
It depends on the payment method. I've used QuickPay. I don't know if that was the question. I've used QuickPay in the US and it's instant.
Yeah, I haven't used Zelle. I've used Venmo, and that you can see it instantly in your app when someone has sent your money, and then but when you want to transfer it to your bank account, I believe it takes 1 or 2 days, as I recall it. I don't use it very often.
I just checked in the application that we have 4 days for Zelle, so it's not by default not instant, but I think it's usually pretty fast, at least the same day, as far as I remember from people. But I think it can take, especially over the weekend, it can take longer, and there's no hard guarantee.
Maybe because it's a bank product.
Brad wants also kind of a Zelle instant option, but yeah, I don't remember by heart.
Yeah, unfortunately, in the US, that's the worst situation with payment methods. But yeah, it's getting better a little bit. Our Zelle is expanding, and Bitcoin is expanding. That's a good thing.
Yeah, there's Leaf is saying, just going through the comments, that he thinks that the majority of growth will come due to necessity. So people are forced to use Bisq actually because there is no other option to trade in private anymore. Let me just go. There's from Aruna. What about post-Soviet countries? From the translation side, also we do have now also so that shouldn't be a problem. But on the trading side, I think we had a couple of offers with Ruble, but I haven't seen them lately. Manfred, do you remember if there's was any blocking? Also, there was once Bisq blocked in Russia, I think, the website at least.
Yeah, I think I heard that the web page was blocked. I'm not sure if that's still the case. My assumption, I'm also was surprised that we don't have much traders from there, and so I think probably one reason is the language barriers that are, and then I think another reason is that there are probably quite a few exchanges out there in that area, and people are using them, the local exchanges. But mainly probably the language barrier to promote it, to read about it on the web page. Even if in the app we have Russian translation, it doesn't help when the web page is not translated to Russian and so on. And to have people there who are promoting it.
Yeah, so if you are from Russia or post-Soviet countries, you could run a liquidity week there, and we try to support you as good as possible. So let me check what else. From the Despacito, Burrito, he's asking if we want to support Monero as a base currency, like Bitcoin, if that would be possible.
Yeah, that's a repeating demand from Monero users, which I can support very highly. It's just a problem that it's a lot of effort, and it's not realistic from our side that we don't have the resources to work half a year or 1 year on changing the code base in a way to have a Java, to have any solution for Monero support as base currency. Technically, I think it's doable, but it's a lot of engineering effort. I mean, there is no Java implementation for Monero, so you would need to probably run Monero D in background and then communicate with Monero D. That would require a completely new implementation of the wallet in Bisq. So yeah, I would estimate it would take minimum half a year of work, but if any Monero developer is willing to work on this, would be great. Monero as base currency would have a lot of benefits from the privacy side. But I see another option much more interesting, what we want to go, in which direction we want to go as soon as the DAO is live, to use the bonding in the DAO. So there's one feature where you can lock up a BSQ bond. You can basically lock up some money. And with this, it's a little bit like a security deposit. And with that, we can build a new trading protocol, which is completely off-chain. You can trade anything against anything. Both sides need to lock up their amount, the maximum amount of the damage of the trade when they are not completing the trade. And with that, we are much, much more flexible. And of course, then you don't need Bitcoin as a base currency anymore, and you can trade Monero against dollar directly, or even Monero against another altcoin, or Apple against bananas.
Manfred, you did recently do a bounty for Monero address verification, right? And it was taken very quickly.
Yeah, that will go into the next release as well. There is already a basic address verification implemented, but they want to add also a checksum verifications, more sophisticated, and that has a little bit problems with the crypto library, what they are depending on, and so on. So anyway, so some verification will get added, either the kind of like the perfect one or just the first step, and then in the next upcoming release,
but it's worth reminding everyone for this and for other stuff that it's an open source project. You know, if you're willing to put in the time, you know, the Bisq DAO will offer a bounty, will help, will do whatever they can, but the thing we're all missing here is time. So, you know, anyone willing to help.
Yeah, and exactly. I mean, the Monero community is great. They have a lot of developers. They're very developer-centric. So when that was actually the bounty which were taken in 5 minutes or whatever. When I posted about the bounty, one guy showed up very quickly and was working on it and made a pull request already. So yeah, that confirmed this, that it's a very strong community which has very aligned values to Bisq also. I'm super happy also that we see so high trading volumes with Monero the last months or weeks, and hopefully that continues. And especially for Monero use, it's really important, and some Monero people have posted this, that Monero has a privacy problem when Monero is only traded on centralized exchanges and they are exchanging the data. Then they lose the fungibility and they lose the privacy protection. It's really important, not only for yourself, but also for the Monero ecosystem, that not everybody's using Coinbase for buying Monero.
By the way, on another topic, a very frequent question in that Reddit thread we had a couple of days ago was about arbitrators. How many arbitrators we have? How are we going to increase the number while keeping it safe? Are people going to be able to choose their arbitrators like they do on OpenBazaar? I think, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe I give a little bit of overview because it's a pretty complex topic, and so the current arbitration system is not it's not finished. It's not decentralized because we didn't have the resources to build it in a decentralized manner, and there was also never a really convincing solution, a technical solution how to do it with the current trade protocol, which is based on a 2 of 3 multisig. And that's another reason why I want to move to this off-chain trade protocol with BSQ, because that solves these problems, that makes it so hard to really decentralize the arbitration system. Because what's the problem when an arbitrator, when we say everybody can become an arbitrator could start to scam, and when he would need to set up a high security deposit, then who is the key holder for this? You're just moving the centralization problem. Then maybe the founders or somebody send the key holder, the multi-sig key holder of this security deposit of all these arbitrators, and maybe then the founder becomes, or he get hacked, maybe not becoming corrupt, but it's a security problem as well. When I would get hacked and somebody can get access to this multi-sig key, there are many complications with this model. And at the moment, there are Bisq founders. One is anonymous, and the other is Chris Beams. I have been arbitrator over time in some times. At the moment, I'm not. And at the moment, it's based on trust that those people who have built Bisq and who have proven the last 5 years that they really care about these values, that they are not betraying the users, and they have also a lot of investment in the project with the DAO. So they would be pretty stupid when they cheat a trader and earn a few bucks and create a lot of damage for the project. So it's very economically unreasonable that they would do it, but of course it's not fully decentralized and not fully trustless. So it's not perfect, the situation. There have been also some comments from one guy on Reddit who found the hair in the soup that in some docs in arbitration we are requiring when the arbitrator cannot find a clear evidence about the trade, then he can require ID verification. That only happens first arbitrator try to find out what was going wrong. When he has a suspect that one of the traders is lying, he requests tamper-proof evidence with page signer. That's a tool where we can get a cryptographic evidence of the bank transfer. And unfortunately, that is not working with all web pages, with all banking web pages. In those cases, when it doesn't work or when the user is rejecting to do it, then he will go to the next step where he could require ID verification and a video chat. Because otherwise he could not resolve the dispute when one trader say I've sent the money and the other say I have not received it, and both are not able or not willing to provide a tamper-proof evidence with page signer, then yeah, the arbitrator cannot resolve the dispute. So the only solution would be that he leave it forever locked, which would be bad for the seller. And the better solution is that he goes on and then ask for video conference and for ID verification, because we can assume that the scammer is not very happy by doing ID verification. And just to have this tool in the toolbox prevents scammers to entering the Bisq system, and it has worked so far because they know.
But the point about arbitration not being centralized right now and becoming decentralized as we all want it to be. You mentioned that the DAO on testnet is going to be launched in October, hopefully, and we hope to have the DAO on mainnet when, this year or?
And hopefully. Yeah, hope end of the year. It depends how many problems we find in testing and so on. But when everything goes good, I hope end of the year the DAO is on mainnet, and then
once the DAO is on mainnet, you will be able to post bonds and have more arbitrators, and eventually completely decentralize.
We have to build first this new trade protocol system, which also will take some time. We have not worked more closely on this, just on the very high level conceptual issues, if it's basically possible and if it can be safe and trustless. And we have not found issues so far, but it will require more thought and more work, and then to design the trade protocol. It will be much easier like the current trade protocol because it doesn't have any multisig and so on. It's basic idea is that you're making a contract with another peer, and in the contract it's defined an arbitrator or not. You can also do it without arbitrator or define a lawyer for your case or whatever. It's much more flexible, and you both agreeing that you are trusting the arbitrator in a case of a dispute that he will find out the truth, and whatever he will suggest to the stakeholders will be accepted by both traders. That's the contract what you are signing when you start the trade. When you don't want to agree with this, don't trade. So, and with that, it will become easier that anybody can become an arbitrator. For arbitrators, they should also lock up a bond. But at the end, it's then up to the traders how they are selecting an arbitrator. When Greg Maxwell will become an arbitrator, he probably don't need a bond because everybody trusts him. And that actually was the case in the early days on Bitcoin Talk Forum, where such people have been the escrow for over-the-counter trades.
Yeah, but eventually, to go as trustless as is possible, humanly possible, we'd love to have atomic swaps or something that does not require arbitration, right? Well, fraud is not just very unlikely, but impossible by the terms of it.
Yeah, technically it's the coolest thing, atomic swap engineering, and practically I assume it will never really happen, because for those coins where it's really interesting, like between Monero and Bitcoin, or Ethereum and Bitcoin, or some other more technically interesting coins, it's a lot of engineering effort. And beside that, it's then a lot of resource effort to do it in a decentralized way. To do it on a server, it's not really difficult. You just add a new server for having better resources. But on an application like Bisq, you cannot run 3 or 4 blockchains and sync everything. It's already with Bitcoin J quite heavy. When you have not used your Bisq application for a month, it takes a few minutes to sync, and it's really heavy from CPU load. When you would do the same for Monero and Ethereum and 5 other altcoins, you can cook. You can use.
But you did mention in the past that with the BSQ tokens, you can do even better than atomic swaps. You can
Exactly.
do one transaction where you have the Bitcoin and the BSQ being sent in the same transaction.
Yeah, that works because BSQ is technically Bitcoin. That's basically not even an atomic swap. It's just an atomic Bitcoin transaction. It's basically similar, like they're doing a counterparty with Asset Exchange or an Ethereum with ERC20 tokens. You are staying in the same blockchain, and you can do that trustless exchange. The problem there is that you need to get the tokens which are interesting for you, like $1 or a Monero, on the Bitcoin blockchain. And there are some rough ideas how to do this, but that's another bigger topic I don't want to get in at the moment. And I don't have personally planned to work on this, but I'm pretty convinced that it's technically possible and might be a very interesting solution for the future, but that's long-term roadmap.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to wrap it up. We are already past our regular 45 minutes. I just saw that we have again 245 offers, and I also did a trade just a few minutes ago, so I have to put up the trades again. If you do want to support Bisq and to try out Bisq, do it today. There are lots of offers there to be taken. You can try it out. It's really easy. It's really fast. It can't be faster than that. So because on a centralized exchange, you in the end have to check to transfer your funds to your local bank account, and that takes also days, or depending, or at least as long as it does on Bisq. So do it now. Do it today, and yeah, we'll see again next Thursday. Maybe Manfred, you might do another of your Bisq DAO talks next week, or is it better 1 week later?
I think I have an interview on the same time next week. Okay. Thursday I cannot participate.
Maybe in 2 weeks. So we'll have a regular growth call next week on Thursday. Okay, yeah. So thanks for watching, and thanks for trading, and see you again next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.